story out of the Wall Street Journal, and there is a trap involved. I'm gonna go and film later a bonus content lesson for the real estate crash course on exactly why I believe this is a trap. I'm gonna lightly go over it here, but we're gonna read this story, okay? And this is gonna sound good to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Americans right now that have been trying to buy a home, but they've been blocked out of the market by high rates. And now there's a company that just hit the market and it's gonna grow fast. I'm familiar with this company. They are really highlighting right now a lot of properties out of the Atlanta area, but it's gonna grow very, very fast. Hey, Sea-Dog, hey, how are you doing? I'm pointing at your thing. That's the camera. That's where your comment is. Anyway, hey, Sea-Dog, how are you doing? Sea-Dog's been with this, not only this channel, Economic Ninja channel for a long time. With that being said, this is my secondary channel. It's a backup. If I say something stupid and crazy and get banned on the other channel, I'm here. So please hit the subscribe button. Let's just dive into the story. All right, out of the Wall Street Journal, a 3% mortgage rate in a 7% world. This startup says it can do that. Now, this exact same thing did happen for a very brief time, but because of the lack of technology back in 2005, 2006, it didn't really take off. Okay, it says loan assumptions, which let a home buyer essentially take over the seller's mortgage, are hard to find and hard to pull off. It says here, there are millions of outstanding mortgages with a 3% interest rate. A new startup says it can help today's home buyers get their hands on them. Mortgage rates are now above 7%, leaps and bounds above the 3% that they grazed on 2 years ago. Buyers and sellers alike are giving up, sucking demand and supply out of the housing market. That is actually not true. It doesn't work that way. But anyway, I talk about it in the course. And things are expected to stay with that, with the Federal Reserve signaling plans to keep rates high for the foreseeable future. The Rome, it's the name of the company, a real estate company that launched Wednesday, they've got about 11 employees to give you an idea how big they are, is betting that it can popularize an obscure workaround. Assumable loans allow sellers to transfer their own mortgage loans to the buyer alongside of the house. Now, it shows a chart of the distribution of interest rates, right? Mortgages. And they show this chart. And obviously, by size, any mortgages between 2% and 4% have the market share, the lion's share of the mortgage industry. Well, why is that? The housing market. It's because, quite frankly, most of the homes are bought while interest rates were low, right? Now they've rose, and you're seeing anything right here. This is the number from 4 to 5%, and then it goes down to 7. Now think of all these people are in the hurt locker right now. They're paying exorbitantly high mortgage rates, and they're getting ticked. They want something lower. Well, they can't just refinance their house. They may want to sell their house and try and buy something else, or the people that are waiting to buy, this is going to be the answer. They're going to run to this, and this is going to grow very fast, but you have to be aware of a couple things. First off, let's say you find a house that has an assumable mortgage, right? And you stop looking at realtor.com, you stop looking at Zillow or Redfin, and you go to Rome's website, and it highlights, and if you want, now I'm gonna be honest with you, if you wanna sell your house, this is a great option. And I'll talk about that in the course. I'm gonna go film an emergency lesson because I think this is very important for the people in my course to learn this stuff now, right? The benefits of being able to use this platform to sell and the trap of buying. Because think about this. You get into a 3% loan, you just look at this website, and that's you're tunneled in. You buy something at 3%, and you're like, oh, cool. Well, you're not just assuming the loan. They're not just walking away. They're like, hey, this house is, on paper, it's worth like another 300,000. So you got to come up with it. So there's going to be all kinds of issues. You're going to have a first, you're going to have a second, or you're going to have to come up with the extra cash. Let's say it's close. You're like, oh, it's only went up 100 grand. All I got to do is come up with 100 grand. And then I get this loan for 3%. There's still a trap because you're dealing with the current price of the house. And remember, that is artificial right now. All right. So if you want a discount to the thing, I put a link, 75% off to the course below. Check this out. It says here, in theory, that sounds like a sound idea, at least for discouraged house hunters who can inherit a lower rate loan. Sellers, in turn, might fetch higher prices for their house. But Rome's vision faces an uphill battle. Loan assumptions haven't gained much traction recently, even though rates are up. Many lenders are cool to the idea because for them, it would mean more work for less money. Some 22% of active mortgages are part of the government programs that have assumption features, according to the mortgage data and the technology company Black Knight. That includes loans extended through the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Federal Housing Administration programs. Few customers know about the option, and fewer still follow through with it. The FHA has processed 3,349 assumptions in the fiscal year that ended September 30th, which was up 2,566 the year prior. So now think about this. You go from, this was up almost the entire amount. We went from virtually 0 assumptions to 3,349. So the point being is that the company's founder and chief executive officer says the new company, his new company, will find and advertise home listings attached attractive assumable mortgages. It is initially launching in Georgia, Arizona, Colorado, Texas, and Florida. And really, as of the recording of this is brand new information. We're looking at mainly Georgia. That's where their website's focused. The company aims to help with the paperwork and other bureaucratic hoops. That means working with the seller's mortgage company on behalf of the buyer and seller. Look, this is great for a seller. It's going to be scary for a buyer. All right. I'm going to go into that later in a second. A loan assumption is different from a standard sale in which the buyer takes out a mortgage and the going rate to pay the seller. In that case, a seller uses the money to pay off his or her own mortgage and pockets the rest. An assumable transaction doesn't replace an old mortgage with a new one, but instead transfers old mortgage to the new owner. The seller is relieved of the remaining mortgage liability, so the balance is subtracted from the purchase amount owed. The buyer must come up with the cash to cover the rest of the purchase price. So these are, I think, very important points to understand. It's going to lure a lot of would-be buyers that are depressed or distressed or just frustrated about the current rate. It says right here, take a $500,000 house that's tied to an assumable mortgage with $300,000 balance. Even after the buyer assumes the mortgage, the buyer still needs to come up with $200,000. Unless the buyer can pay the amount, he or she would need to take out a second loan at a going rate. Now, I have a way for sellers to make a lot of money from this and still retain ownership in a way to this house, but I'm not going to disclose that right here. I think it's important to realize that. Rome says that it will recommend lenders to provide additional financing. It wouldn't specify on which lenders it'll work with. Rome will collect a fee from the buyer that equals 1% of the purchase price. They're going to make some good money on this. I mean, this is an interesting company, but it only has a certain lifespan. And I don't want to get into all that, but it really is tied to where rates go. If rates dive down, or when they dive down, and they will, but they're going to go much higher in the near term before that happens, then that business model is going to be over because people are going to simply go and pick up cheap mortgages. So it's really easy to figure out where this is going. But in the short term, I think it's going to confuse and trap a lot of would-be home buyers. So I hope you got something out of this. I'm going to put the discount link 75% off to the real estate crash course. I have a really big surprise for all of my, the people that bought the course, students. I can't wait to show you guys. It's probably going to take about a week to let you know. With that being said, the Economic Ninja, wait a minute. Come on, Ninja, stick with the branding. Real Estate Ninja is out.